High performing women don't usually lose their recovery because they forgot to schedule a vacation. They lose it one small decision at a time. And recently, after my house flooded for the third time and the day before a trip, I had to decide what to do. Today, I'm going to share what happened and how that moment taught me something every high performing woman needs to hear about protecting her recovery. Welcome to Wellness for High Performers, where ambitious people discover the path to sustainable wellness that actually feels good so they can build the dream without burning out. I'm your host, Erica Jones. I'm a wellness strategist and entrepreneur, and I help high performers create massive momentum by weaving wellness into their daily life. Well, hello there, and welcome back to Wellness for High Performers. Even though podcasts have still been in production, I've actually been away for a little while. We took a family trip up to Canada to visit my husband's side of the family and visit our old stomping grounds of Toronto as a trip down memory lane. We lived there for a couple of years when we first got married, so it was neat to walk the same streets with our children. But I must tell you that leading up to this vacation and even during the vacation, I was dealing with a whirlwind of drama, and it made me step back and think about recovery a little bit more. And I know I've talked about that recently on the show, and I'm revisiting it again because I think it's so important for high performing women, but it's often the piece that gets quietly pushed to the back burner. And it's not always in the egregious recovery mistakes like, oh, you're working for years and not taking a vacation. Oftentimes, we lose our recovery and subsequently our capacity because we give it away in one small decision at a time. And that's what I want to talk about today. And I'm going to do it in real life examples that I've personally experienced in the recent weeks in the hope that not only it will be relatable for you, but also that you would feel empowered as well. So, to kind of set the stage, we take an annual trip to Canada to visit my husband's side of the family every year over the summer. It's a gorgeous part of the world to be in, especially when it's hot and humid in Georgia in the middle of summer. And so, what they do is something like a family reunion in the beautiful Kawartha Lakes region of Ontario. It's absolutely gorgeous. And we end up renting a lake house for our family, and his sister does as well, and with her family. And it's a great time for everyone to get together. He has a lot of local family there. His parents live there. Some other brothers and sisters live there. So we just get together. And so for me, I like to use our lake house as a place where I can just ease into the day, retreat into the quiet after we've all been together as a family. Usually his sister is hosting that. And I use our lake house as kind of the retreat and downtime that I need to have some space for myself. And it feels very private and serene. And if you're an introvert, I know you totally get what I'm driving at right now. So, this year in particular, we were asked to host another family of five at our lake house during our vacation. And there was absolutely nothing wrong with this request or the way that it was made. It was polite, there was no pressure at all. But I want to note something that I noticed what was happening internally for me when navigating this ask. It was almost a certain level of responsibility that I felt like I had to say yes, and I was just about to tap out a reply on my phone of like, yes, that would be great. We can host them. Totally fine. When I paused and I was like, do I really want to do this? How is this going to change how this vacation feels if now my little serene environment is filled with another family that we really didn't have the space for? I knew it would feel stressful to me. And there's nothing right or wrong about that. It's just my reality, the way I'm made up. It's what I know about me. Know thyself, as Socrates says, right? So I took a step back and I was like, I don't really think that this is going to be great for my level of relaxation and rest on this trip. So I talked to Isaac about it and he agreed. So I politely declined the request and it was fine. And I got to keep my quiet space, which I am so, so glad that I protected. And I'll tell you why in a minute. But let's just sit with this thought for just a second because this is the perfect example of a time where I could have lost the space for my recovery, not because it was taken away from me, but because I willingly gave it. And that's what I want to touch on right now is that there are dozens of little decisions in a day that are either a vote for our space and breathing room, or they're a sacrifice of the things that we need to operate at our highest capacity. And the point that I'm getting to is that recovery is not just scheduling a vacation, having time off on the weekends, not working in the evenings. It's also a question of the quality of that time off and the sum of all of the little decisions throughout the week that are either sacrificing or protecting your recovery and ultimately your capacity. So for me, I was protecting the quality of my vacation time by declining that request to host another family during our trip. And that's not always easy to do because high performing women are often asking themselves, what is the responsible thing to do? What's the logical thing to do? Or how do I avoid looking bad or selfish or whatever? But in reality, we might be better served by asking what protects my capacity to keep showing up well. And it's okay to choose your capacity over trying to control how you're perceived. Like we don't have control over that anyway, right? And sometimes it's also okay to choose your capacity over what feels like the quote unquote responsible thing to do or the quote unquote logical thing to do. But in order to make a decision that prioritizes our recovery, we have to be willing to reframe and view these kinds of choices through a different filter. Now, you may have guessed why I'm so happy I did not offer up our vacation home that we had booked because the day before we were leaving, I woke up early to get organized and make progress on the rest of the packing. And my husband had just come back from a business trip. He needed some clothes washed. So I started the washing machine for him. And after about 30 minutes, my laundry room was filled with water. It was dripping down into my kitchen, which is the floor beneath on the second floor, as well as my basement on the lower floor. And this was a brand new LG washer. I've had a terrible experience with them from front to back. And we had only had it installed not even 2 weeks ago. We had washed several loads without issue. And all of a sudden, we had catastrophic water damage in our house for the third time in 2 years and right before a vacation. So to say that I was stressed is a massive, massive understatement. I think the trauma of the previous two incidents just amped everything up inside of my mind. And I was literally in tears because we had just finished all of the remediation and a kitchen remodel from water damage back in December. That had just been finished in April in the spring. And it was from the exact same area, the laundry room, but this time a different issue. So we got the wheels in motion. We had the remediation team come out to start the demo process and the drying out of all the wet areas. And since this happened the day before our trip, it was obviously terrible timing, but I guess it's a lot better than if it had happened while we were away, or thanking God that was not the case. So, with all of this chaos happening just less than 24 hours before we're set to travel as a family, I was thinking through how are we going to manage this? So the plan that I had come up with was to let Isaac go up as planned with the children, and I would come several days later after the bulk of the remediation was finished. This is not what I wanted to do, but it felt like the responsible and logical thing to do since my home was in an active remediation situation. But I thought to myself, I need this vacation. I deserve this vacation. I have got to figure out another way to protect the space that I've set aside to relax and recover, even in the midst of this crazy circumstance. So I thought to myself, if I had to leave, what would I do? This is a reframing or like a mindset technique that my husband taught me. It's a great way to explore other possibilities when you feel stuck. And so I asked myself, if I had to leave tomorrow, what would I do? And the answer was obvious. So I got on the phone and I contacted two of my good friends who I deeply, deeply trust. And they agreed to come into my home and manage the remediation process while I was away, which wasn't like they had to sleep over here and be here 24/7, but it was more of a, hey, can you let in the remediation team so that they can do their moisture checks or whatever they need to do with the equipment to keep this process moving along? So the logical and responsible side of me would have said, Erica, do not do that. What if something goes wrong and you're not there to address it? It was an uncomfortable decision in the moment for me to make because leaving my house in such a vulnerable state felt really hard. But I realized that my discomfort with the decision was not rooted in any reality. It was more so because I'm used to taking charge, getting things done, and delegating something that big felt awkward in the moment. But long story short, it all worked out beautifully. I would say even better than if I were there because the worst part of the remediation was all finished by the time I got back home. And if you've ever lived through water damage, they have to bring in these massive industrial machines that they use to dry out the different areas affected in the house. It's kind of like your house is a construction zone. There's plastic walls everywhere. You can't move about your house the way that you want to, depending on where everything is set up. And it can be really hard to live in, especially for 4 kids. I've done it twice now. So the fact that we were gone and I had local friends that could provide access to my home for the remediation team and have them oversee that bit of the process was huge. And thankfully, the water did not affect my newly renovated kitchen. So that was another major blessing. So by the time we got to Canada that next day, I was so happy that we had that lake house to ourselves. I could not have foreseen that we were going to have a massive water leak the day before our trip. So my stress levels were obviously very high on arrival, and hosting another family would have felt unnecessarily difficult given all that we had already experienced. So I was relieved that I had made a decision that honored my recovery, not realizing how badly I would need it. And so sometimes, in order to recover, we need to let others step in and help. And high achieving women were known for being capable, for being responsible, but sometimes it's okay to let other people step in and offer their support, especially in a difficult time when we need it. And that's a huge part of honoring ourselves and our ability to recover. The other thing that I feel is noteworthy about this is that recovery is not really for planned stress. Protecting your bandwidth is not for, okay, I know that this key member of my team is going to quit tomorrow at a really tough time. It's for the stuff that's not planned. So that's why we need margin that we set aside because we never know when there's an unpredictable stressor that's going to come up. So rather than waiting to book that massage for when you feel tapped out, have it pre-booked on the calendar, preferably regularly so that you're investing in your recovery before you think you need it. And it doesn't have to be massage. Maybe you don't like massage, but maybe it's something else that makes you feel refreshed and recovered. And I also want to offer that this isn't just about vacations. It's also about protecting your bandwidth during your everyday activities. Things like taking a proper lunch break or walking outside for a few minutes in the sunlight between calls or deliberately leaving your evening open for winding down versus continuing to work every night. Or sometimes it's like letting your kids know, hey, mommy's having 10 minutes of quiet time when your brain feels fried and you need space. I use that one regularly. It's staying connected with how you feel and what you need and adjusting accordingly. It isn't selfish. Recovery is stewardship over your energy so that you can show up as the best version of yourself. And I also want to acknowledge that sometimes we don't get to choose. Yesterday, I would have liked to sleep in a little bit longer after a full day of traveling back home with the kids. That would have been the thing that honored my recovery at the highest level, but I couldn't. I had a repair technician on the way to my house. Sometimes we don't always get to choose what feels great or prioritizes our capacity in the highest level. Deadlines are real. Kids need us, businesses need us, emergencies come up, and sometimes recovery has to wait. And I'm not going to gloss over that because I know that's a reality for a lot of high performing women. But, and this is a really big but, there are many, many moments where we do have a choice, where we can decline an invitation that doesn't align, or we can move a meeting that would give the day more breathing room. We can decline that extra commitment or the urge to feel like we have to handle everything by ourselves. These are the day to day moments where protecting recovery matters. Yes, schedule your vacations and protect their quality. Build in structured recovery time like massages and pedicures, whatever makes you feel rejuvenated. But also know that you have dozens of opportunities in any given day to choose you. And this is not just a nice thing to do, This is your responsibility because only you know your capacity or your level of overstimulation or when you feel like you're running on empty. And because only you know these things, only you can protect them. And you have to because the world needs you and you need you to be the best version of yourself that you can possibly be. Thank you so much for being here. I hope you're leaving this episode feeling more clear on what recovery can look like for you. For deeper conversations like this, join me at elevays.com. That's ELEV as in victory, AYS.com. And get on my list for my weekly newsletter, The Elite Edge. It's where I share insights you won't find anywhere else. I'll see you in the next episode, but until then, make time for what matters.